Welcome to another special episode of Swing State Update. I am your co-host, Austin Smith. We're here at AmericaFest. I have got a real good treat for everybody. My good friend, Mr. Jack Posobiec. Jack, how are you?
You didn't know Stone Cold Jack Poso was going to be here today.
Let me tell you
the
something, brother.
Pennsylvania Rattlesnake Poso 316 says.
Let me tell you something, brother. Donald Trump is going to come into Arizona and win.
There you go.
Jack, welcome to the Swing State Update.
Just got one question for you, brother. What you gonna do?
Jack, what do you think of AmericaFest so far?
Look, man, I've been to every AmericaFest. I've been to every Student Action Summit, AdCom, whatever name they want to call these things that you and Charlie come up with. And I got to tell you, and everybody says that, like, oh, Poso, you're just saying that because you're friends with the guys. And all. This is the biggest one yet. They get bigger every time. And every time I say, where are you going to find more people? How are you going to find more speakers in the lineup that you can add? And suddenly I see the lineup of this year, and you guys have brought everyone together from like every wing of the party, from the libertarians to the Hawks. We have some Hawks here, and the hardliners. Now we've got the MAGA, the nationalists. Because everyone knows you got the finance guys like Patrick Bet-David, who's not even really political, but he's here. And I think it's because people know that Turning Point, AmericaFest, MAGA, the populist wing, that's where all the action is, that's where all the energy is, to wrangle that together. And that's why I've been counting. Charlie says he thinks it's 13,000. I think I'm at 15. I think I've counted 15,000 people. I've been counting heads, Austin.
This place is packed. No, this place is packed. Third year in a row. We're here in the great state of Arizona, the most important swing state in the country right now.
I had no idea, by the way, and I say this as a Philly guy, I had no idea that I would be spending this much of my life in Arizona in a desert. And I'm Polish, like we don't really do desert, you know?
No.
But looking at cactuses and being in the desert, and yet I'm here multiple times a year, and then of course for AmericaFest, how could I miss it? But you know, the other importance is, and since we're on the Swing State podcast, we should also point out, we're not just in Phoenix, we're in Maricopa County.
That's right. Jack understands this, and we talk about it on the show all the time. The fourth largest county in America, Maricopa County. The most largest Republican voting county in America. In 2020, the loss of margin for Donald Trump here was like less than 10,000 votes.
Ugh.
Because we have created such a good infrastructure, such a big...
10,000 ballots.
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 10,000 ballots. But because we've built such a big infrastructure here in Arizona, because we're headquartered in Arizona, Jack talks about he comes here multiple times a year. This is where the battle is. This is where the action's at. And we do, for some reason, we just have this very small wing of the Republican Party who doesn't understand what time it is. They still think George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush is the leader of the Republican Party. And they don't understand like why this is so impactful and so powerful for a swing state.
It seems to me that in Arizona, what it is, it's the legacy of John McCain when he was the senator here for many years, and that sort of fiefdom that he built up in the state, within the statewide party. Many people who still have their jobs through patronage, many people who still have their positions either in government, in business, this donor class, that's still there. And that was the fight, of course, that bled over into the governor's race of 2022 with Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake now flipping that over and now running for Senate. So in Arizona, you've got that contested Senate race. This is something, by the way, that I am fascinated by, because we've not seen a three-way race like this anywhere in the nation in quite some time. Nationally, I guess you'd have to say it's like when Perot ran,
right.
But Perot was not the incumbent,
right.
So I can't quite find anything that really forms a parallel cognate to what's going on in Arizona in the Senate race in 2024.
No, it's going to be interesting. And so you brought up, there's multiple factions of the conservative movement, of the party that are here. Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA, really the only ones that can do that. And so we're going to go into this next election year. Donald Trump's up 70 points in the Republican Party primary. That goose is cooked. It's done and over with. Now we've got to start going through, we're going to figure out Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. Pretty much after that, it's over. We've got to have every faction of the party. If you live in New Mexico and you're a MAGA guy, you need to take probably a week off in October to come chase ballots in Arizona. If you live in New York and you're a populist, you're a conservative, you need to go spend a week chasing the early votes in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I mean, this is like the only opportunity we have right now.
You have to
where all of
go.
us are together.
So if you're in one of these blue states and you're behind enemy lines or opposition lines, let's be fair. Now, by the way, no, first I would say if you're in New York, talk to Gavin Wax.
That's right.
Talk to Gavin Wax, plug in with his operations, because there are a lot of House districts in New York that he's worked on flipping, and I'm told, and I was just with him at the New York Gala with President Trump, did grace us with his presence, had dinner with us, and I sat at the table right across from him, that Gavin's got his eye on a few more congressional districts up there in New York, right? So check with Gavin first, but then you've got Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania exists as a state where, because of the particular political alignment and coalition that Donald Trump has put together, he put states in what we would traditionally refer to as the Rust Belt in play in a way that we have not seen a president do or a presidential candidate do since Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon. And the reason is because they both played not as Democrat or Republican, they played into populist grassroots politics. Now, George H.W. Bush did win Pennsylvania, but he only did so because, what can I say, I'm a Pennsylvania guy, that's how I know my state, right? So George H.W. Bush is actually the last Republican before Trump to win Pennsylvania. This is because, of course, of the coattails of Ronald Reagan and what we used to call the Reagan Democrats. So the power of Reagan transfers a bit onto, he's got that, that stink on him, that Reagan stink on Bush when he runs. He's able to win. But of course, by 1992, after 1988, by 1 year or 1 term in office, that stink is worn off. They can see who he is. They don't like his neocon tendencies. They throw him out. Ross Perot's in. We know the story. Pennsylvania goes for Clinton. No Republican candidate was able to pick up and put together that coalition of Reagan Democrats. And that's not just Pennsylvania. That's also Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, until Donald Trump came along. And I'll tell you what happened with George W. Bush. He's able to put together the red states and then flip with Karl Rove's famous 50% plus one strategy in just enough states where he's able to put it together. But he's not challenging the Democrats on their own turf. And remember, under George W. Bush, what were the two top swing states? Ohio and Florida. Right. These are the two, 2000 and 2004, that were the must-win states. But he's blowing it out in the Sun Belt. He's just destroying it in the Sun Belt. Then we get candidates like McCain, we mentioned just before, here in Arizona, blows out Arizona, Sun Belt state. Mitt Romney blows out the Sun Belt. So the Sun Belt and the Bible Belt, but the problem is they don't play anywhere in the Midwest. They don't play anywhere in the Rust Belt. They can't pick up any of those Reagan Democrats. They leave them all on the table. Pennsylvania doesn't even become competitive, and they lose everything, and they lose big. Then we get the famous autopsy of 2012. And the autopsy of 2012, and we've heard a certain former speaker make this phrase recently, where he says, we need a Republican Party that looks more like America. We need a Republican Party that looks more Hispanic, that looks more Indian, that looks browner. And then who do we get lined up in place? Marco Rubio and Nikki Haley. So Rubio was supposed to be first, and then Nikki Haley was in line after him. So following from this, you see Rubio begin to put things together for 2016. At the same time, Jeb Bush, the Bush dynasty, they want their piece in, so they were going to sort of, play it out, and they were attempting to do, of course, the constitutionality of two men from on the same ticket from the same state would have been an issue. They were potentially looking to jockey for position for a vice president ticket in 2016, Rubio Bush. And this potentially could have been achieved by challenging this in the Supreme Court. However, along comes a man by the name of Donald Trump. He wins, defeats the Bush dynasty, then defeats the Clinton dynasty by putting that Reagan Democrat coalition together in a way that nobody saw coming, except for, by the way, famously, Bill Clinton himself. Bill Clinton himself, who urged Hillary to put more time and invest more time in the Rust Belt. She doesn't do it. Donald Trump goes in there and sweeps it. The first Republican to do so, as I say, in a generation.
Right.
Now, the issue that I see in the primary with all of these sort of Trumpism without Trump style candidates is that they're following the same path as Romney and McCain before them, where they are championing and campaigning for the Sun Belt, the Sun Belt, the Bible Belt, and if you look on issue after issue, social issues, economic issues, the Sun Belt just doesn't vote the way the Rust Belt does. The Rust Belt doesn't vote the way the Sun Belt does. So if you as a politician, either in the Senate, like Lindsey Graham, or the governorship, Ron DeSantis and others, Nikki Haley when she was the governor of South Carolina, if you are putting together bills that are extremely popular in the Sun Belt, they may be anathema in the Rust Belt on many of these social issues. And this is something that I think Trump understood because he went through the country and he analyzed issues to say, what are the top issues, not just in one pocket of the country, what are the top issues nationally? Yeah. But he did so by cross-referencing every major media market in the country and then specifically focusing on swing states. And of course, do you know what issue bubbled to the surface? Not in national polls, but if you put together all the regional polls, it's immigration.
Yeah.
It was immigration. And now, so we're here in Arizona, we're here in a state like this, we're here in a border state, and a state where John McCain was the senator for so many decades. And it will never cease to amaze me that John McCain did not make immigration the top issue of his campaign. I don't know that he could have beat Obama in 2008.
No, nobody was
I
beating
don't know
Obama.
if any Republican could have beat Obama in 2008.
Way over financed, they were way more organized. But so let's stay on the Rust Belt topic.
But you look at those issues, and you look at the way that he used those issues to remake the map, and that's key. And I think a lot of Republican consultants and strategists, and Jeff Rowe, well, I wish you a Merry Christmas, buddy, and a Happy New Year. That they failed to understand the importance of this.
Understood. And I think what's interesting too, so let's stay on Wisconsin here.
Sure,
Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, those three states, 270 to win, right? Mathematically, those are the three most important
states. The math
states.
don't change,
The math
folks.
is not going to change. So immigration being a top one. That affects everybody from Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona. Ron Johnson won his re-election this last time around.
Sure did.
Hometown boy in Wisconsin.
4 points, right? One by 4.
Hometown boy in Wisconsin. He understands that place. He understands the issues. Donald Trump will have to have a Ron Johnson-style campaign again in Wisconsin to turn that place around. Arizona, a little bit different here. You got Maricopa County, 4th largest county in the country, biggest Republican county in the country. But one of the reasons why we're losing Arizona, and Tyler and I talk about this on the podcast all the time, the low propensity Republican voters in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Arizona, in Georgia, for some reason, the old establishment, the old bulls of the party, in the general election, we're just going to leave those guys alone. We're not going to go get those guys that voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and potentially in 2020, but in 2022, 2024, we don't even worry about them. That low-hanging fruit in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, I hope the Trump campaign understands that we do it.
And I would even do you one better. So it's not even just the low propensity voters. Let's talk about this. How about non-registered state residents?
Right.
Non-registered potential voters, right? So if you look, and Richard Barris over at People's Pundit has done, I hope you guys have him on here, he's done some analysis and polling of non-registered potential voters. You can't say non-registered voters because it's not, they're not registered. So non-registered residents, right? And among them, you know who that is? Those are the people, what do they love in those states? They love UFC, they love podcasts, they love getting their media, their news from podcasts, they love watching UFC, they love watching sports, etc. Those people, they all break for Trump, all of them.
Yeah.
And so when I look at, I'm not going to say the RNC, the graduate, etc., but political organizers on the right, I say, who among these political organizations with these massive war chests going into 24 are understanding the importance of, number one, registering these unregistered potential voters, turning them out, and then also going, as you say, to the, your 1 of 4 voters and your 0 of 4 voters, at least on a clean roll, to turn them out in the election. And by the way, that's using every single method in the book that's available to you as stands under the state law of those 3 states. Now, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona, we're going to have an extra challenge there in 2024. Why? Because all 3 of those states at the time of the election will have Democrat administrations.
Right. Well, the big part about it too, these 3 states, other than Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, having the Secretary of State be an opposite party from you is always an uphill battle. So this year in the Arizona legislature, during the budget negotiations, Adrian Fontes wanted to put stuff in the budget for automatic voter registration.
Come on.
So a bunch of us in the Freedom Caucus were like, absolutely not. We are not giving you a dime in your Secretary of State budget for automatic voter registration. Now, come next year, Wisconsin, they're going to have probably a big budget battle. Arizona, we're going to have a big budget battle. And this is what's important for people like, I don't really need to pay attention to my state legislature's budget battle. No, it's going to be huge because it's going to impact your election this next year around. Secretary of State registering voters, your county actually facilitating those elections. So people who are in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, you need to pay attention to how your state's budgetary process is working.
And this is a place where even if you have a Democrat governor, that your state reps and your state senators will actually be able to provide a check on that governor. So in some of those states, you do have a divided assembly, and this is going to be a major fight, pre-fight before the 2024 election.
No, it's going to be huge. And so, like I said, guys, everybody who's in one of these swing states, or if you're a neighboring swing state, Jack's up in Pennsylvania and on the East Coast, if you're in that area, you need to go up for a week in Pennsylvania and chase early ballots. If you live in Virginia, you need to go up to Pennsylvania and
go chase Maryland, New Jersey,
Delaware.
Everybody
in that area, you need to go up there. If you're in Minnesota, you need to take a week off from work, bring the kids and the rest of the family to go chase ballots in Wisconsin. Come down to Arizona in October. It's beautiful. We'll chase 100 ballots a day all
It
together.
actually is really nice. I got to give them that.
It's
really
beautiful
nice.
this time of year.
I'll tell you though, Pennsylvania in October. We got married the first week in November, but Pennsylvania in October is one of the most beautiful places on the face of the planet. I grew up just outside Valley Forge, around the Philly area, and Valley Forge, the way they do with the leaves, it is just absolutely. I feel for you guys. Maybe you have to come up sometime, Austin.
I would love to
come up. You got to come up.
Bring the fiance up there. We'll come hang out with Jack's folks.
Come see it.
All right. Parting words, Jack. We got these 3 states. Most important ones. Iowa caucus, less than a month from now? How do you see the Iowa
people need to
caucus
understand
going?
this, that the 2024 election is not 10 months away. It is not even 10 weeks away. It is 3 weeks out as we record this. I don't know what's going out, but as we record this, it's 3 weeks out. The first votes will be cast. That means this fight ain't starting a while from now. So people, I know, look, I get it. Christmas season, I'm the same way. You want to kick back. Over at Human Events, we're going to be doing a lot over there. We got a lot of pre-tapes, a lot of specials. But I'm telling you something, in the back of my mind, as I'm with families and as we're, sipping eggnog and eating apple strudel and everything else, and
tamales
unwrapping
here
gifts.
In Arizona. It's tamales. We eat
tamales. You eat tamales on Christmas?
For Christmas. That's
what?
Arizona. Yeah.
I've been coming here for a long time. I still don't understand this state. But I'm telling you, it's tamales and rattlesnake here, right?
That's
Roasted
right.
rattlesnake.
That's right.
That over at Rustler's Roost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I know a little bit. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm going to be thinking about this fight brewing. And you need to be thinking about it too. And so I'm not going to do the thing where you say, talk to your family about it.
Right.
But you need to think, and that's great that we have at this AMFEST at the time we do, situated at the time we do. And Charlie took a lot of flack for scheduling it right before Christmas, but I understand why he did what he did, because this becomes the pre-game to the next year, and it's served that way. And now this is the pre-game to the 2024 election. We're building the networks, we're building the army, the political army being put together here. The lieutenants are all here, the generals are all here. And I said this in New York to Gavin, I'll say it when before Alexander the Great marched on the Persian Empire, what did he do? He brought all the Macedonians together. He held the gathering of the Macedonians, and they were in Anatolia at the time. He brought them all together, and they had a massive banquet, a massive feast, right? Everybody, and he pumped everybody up. He got everyone energized, and he said, you know why? Because tonight we dine, tomorrow we march.
Tonight we dine, tomorrow we march. Got to go to swingstateupdate.com. Follow Jack Posobiec. Jack, thanks for being with us, man.
God bless, Austin. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We're here at AmericaFest, day number 2, sponsored by Turning Point Action, Swing State Upstate. Happy to be here. I've got a really great guest, a good friend of mine, a colleague of mine, the great Representative Joe Chaplick from Legislative District 3.
Austin Smith, thank you so much.
Happy to have you here. So obviously you guys know, if you're avid listeners of the show, Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, those are the 3 states that we mostly focus on. Obviously Turning Point Action being headquartered in Arizona. Joe Chaplick, a great conservative vote in the Arizona legislature, always been a big supporter of Turning Point Action and the conservative cause, the conservative movement in Arizona for the last few years. Representative Chaplick, welcome to Swing State Update.
You know, it's great to be here. This is such a fantastic event every year. This is so much fun. The energy in the room, the energy everywhere. People are moving around. This is just great. Great for Arizona, great for America. Love to see the young youth out here, all the strong Republicans, the conservatives, and so many people I know. This is such a great event. Thank you for putting it on.
Absolutely. And so here at Turning Point Action, we obviously believe in electing really good conservatives to office. That's a huge thing for us. Not just electing any Republican, we believe in electing good conservatives. So Representative Chaplick and I both serve in the Arizona House of Representatives together. Specifically, we're also members of the Arizona Freedom Caucus together.
Yes,
we hold the line. I know we talk about the Freedom Caucus a lot on this show, the National Freedom Caucus and the State Freedom Caucus Network. Joe is a founder of one of the founding members for the Arizona Freedom Caucus.
Right. We a couple years ago we had a fiscal fight on the budget, and we became the Fiscal Hawks, which then turned into the State Coalition Freedom Caucus members of Arizona, and we're quite strong. The Arizona legislature, a lot of people don't know, as you and I talk a lot, is very conservative. We have probably the strongest conservative body in the last 20 years, and we just need to continue gaining seats. That's the key. We got to keep the majority, Austin. You know this. Love serving with you down there. As long as we can keep active in the districts, make sure we win the seats we need, keep the majority here in the House and the Senate, we will continue to grow more conservative in the legislature, and I think good things to come going forward.
So a lot of people don't know this. So obviously Arizona being a huge swing state with the presidential election cycle, so there's going to be somebody running for president on the ballot. We'll have a U.S. Senate election on the ballot. That is millions and millions of dollars at the top of the ticket. But a lot of people aren't talking about at the bottom of the ticket, the state legislature, state house, state senate. We've got a 31-29 majority in the state house and a 16-14 majority in the Senate. That is a very slim majority in an important swing state like Arizona. The left has already committed to putting in, millions and millions of dollars just to flip the Arizona legislature. Our job as conservatives, specifically, is to, get as many Republican votes as humanly possible in that ballot box. You represent a really conservative area, and we need to make sure that conservative area does its part on election day, the month following up in LD3, right?
Right. Not only do we have to get everybody out to vote, but we also have to help support the other swing districts around District 3, LD3, Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, North Phoenix, Cave Creek, Anthem, New River, large geographical region. And our swing districts right next to us, 2 and 4, well, they need help. They need to make sure we maintain the incumbents we have, but also grow those seats by defeating the Democrats in the House and the Senate. That's going to be a huge key to victory going forward, are these swing districts. So, I'm fortunate in LD3, we're extremely strong with a Republican conservative representation. I think it's a plus 30 for the Republican advantage. But that's not everything. We really have to get more people out to vote in these strongholds, like you're saying, because if people just don't show up and vote, we're losing in the state level, the county level, we're losing the congressional seats. So everybody needs to get out and vote. We need everybody's activity, getting your neighbors out to vote, finding friends, making sure the ballots are being turned in, and continuously to fight for us. So thank you.
I kind of want to also get your take too, is though, we have a divided government in Arizona, a Republican legislature, a Democrat governor, attorney general, secretary of state. We've been in a few battles this year with the ninth floor of the executive branch. You've been a big part of being successful in leading these battles for conservatives. And so, this next year we go into the legislative session in Arizona. It's going to be a battle because it's an election year. What do you think conservatives, grassroots activists across Arizona, across the country, can expect coming out of Arizona this next spring?
Well, I think we're going to be there for a little while because we're going to continue to fight the governor in what her agenda is, and we're going to continue to fight for that in our budget because we have to pass that budget, and she's going to ask for a lot of radical things again. We're going to continue to hold the line and fight back, push for the conservative things, but the border is one of the biggest issues, and the governor's jumping into the border discussions now, how she's calling for the National Guard, but this is only because it's been so bad for so long. The damage is done.
And we've been ringing the alarm bell all year long.
We've been ringing the bell for a year.
And even before I got there,
right.
Before with Ducey when he was governor still.
And so the fact that she's now calling in the National Guard, this is a political play. This is like, look, I'm trying to do something. She could have done it from day one. Day one, she could have done what Texas is doing and helped keep our border safe. Lukeville got shut down.
Right.
It got overran. This is not good for Arizona. It's not good for anybody, Republican, Democrat, any community. This is not good. People better start waking up and finding out that, 10,000 people a day crossing the border just in our state alone. This is bad. I'm glad she's jumping in and doing something, but let's see how effective she is. Let's see what she really does. Right? Is she going to stop letting people just walk across and cut holes in our fence? That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Or is she just going to put the National Guard down there and just have them start processing and driving them around to ports of entry.
To bring them up to Phoenix when they're done.
Right, to get on a plane or to live on the street somewhere in our cities.
Yeah.
We need to shut the border down. That's what needs to happen.
No, and it's huge because I think because it has been such a big issue and it's so popular, but it's also so unpopular to be on the bad side of it. It's a ploy. They just want to be able to win back Arizona for the presidency, U.S. Senate, and try to flip the legislature. But they've been MIA for an entire year. I mean, us in the Freedom Caucus in the Arizona legislature for Republicans, like I said, ringing the alarm bell about this. We will fund border security. We'll fund the county sheriffs down there, DPS. We'll do the fentanyl testing. We'll do everything. They don't want to do any of that stuff because the border, it's actually, it's inhumane to keep people from coming across the border.
Austin, you're a social media guy. I'm on social media enough. Have we seen any Democrat in the state of Arizona or even the legislature post against the border? There's been no action of any Democrat pushing to close the border and stop this madness. Nobody's talking about it on the Democratic side. That's what tells me they don't care. They do not care about Arizona. They don't care about America. They don't care about the families, the crime, the fentanyl. Nobody in the Democrat Party is pushing to stop the border right now.
No, it's huge. It's a huge problem, and it'll drastically affect Arizona's election this next time around.
Right.
Because, we lived here when President Trump was in charge. Arizona was a safe community. It's dangerous now. It is very dangerous here, unfortunately, for some reason. And obviously, the Democrats have felt the political pressure that it's not actually a good idea to be against securing the border. Because the amount of fentanyl that pours across our border is killing thousands of young people every single year, most of the time here in Arizona.
Right.
And the Democrats have refused to actually come to the table on fixing these ideas simply because it all starts with shutting down the border.
Right. And we're at that point. We're at the point where we need to shut the border down for 60 days and clean it up and stop this madness of everyone just pouring through. The people are cutting holes in our fence, on our soil.
Yeah.
On the American land, they're cutting down huge sections of our fence. I don't see that on the nightly news. Middle America has no idea.
Right.
Our fence is getting attacked. That's unheard of.
Right, and so let's move over to let's talk elections. So obviously, there is a push to bring ranked choice voting in the jungle primaries to Arizona. Right. It's a huge issue. The legislature now, the Freedom Caucus makes up about almost a third of legislative Republicans. That's a big number, and I think part of that is because the grassroots conservatives have been so laser focused on electing people that represent their values to represent them at the state house, and so now there's this push to change the entire election process in Arizona. And my opinion is because the folks who were in charge for a very long time, their candidates can't win Republican primaries anymore because guys like me and you are winning Republican primaries, so they're trying to change it.
Right. As you know, I'm fully against it. I talk about it. The ranked choice voting, it's so bad that it's a great plan for conservatives and even the moderate conservatives to lose elections.
Yeah.
That's how it's designed. And now that we're exposing it and we're out there talking about it, the pushback against that is we're wrong, this is not true. They have no argument against it, other than conservatives and Republicans will lose. Votes get canceled out. The most popular person could lose because they filled out the ballots incorrectly. Mm-hmm. He got the most votes, she got the most votes, and they lose because they all got discarded.
Yeah. No, and so they're I think it's because, a third of the legislators in Arizona are conservative, are Freedom Caucus, and we've held the line on a lot of big votes, and it's changed the political trajectory of the state. A swing state like Arizona, which I think is huge. And so they're not targeting blue states, New York and Illinois and Washington. They're coming after Arizona and Georgia and Wisconsin with this ranked choice voting stuff because conservatives are winning everywhere, and they don't know how to stop it other than with ranked choice voting. And so now we're getting to a point where it's like, you're either with us or you're with the elites.
Now, what does California use, Austin?
The jungle primary.
Jungle primaries, that's right, which is our next point. The jungle primaries are horrible. This is a sure way to get Democrats in the general on both sides, both tickets.
Yeah.
There will not be a Republican on the general ballot.
Yeah.
In some of these races with jungle primaries.
And so they try to say it's going to give us more choices, or there's going to be more representation, or it's going to make the politics easier. It's going to create a one-party state, like it did California.
Yeah.
California is a one-party state, as is New York, as is Illinois.
And I find it interesting that they're targeting states like now Arizona, and they're targeting, the 5 or 6 swing states. And Ohio, where I'm from, I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm from Ohio. That was a swing battleground state. What I believe what happened was Cuyahoga County is no longer the largest county in the state, which was Cleveland, which was mostly Democrat. Columbus grew so strong over the last decade that they're the largest city in Ohio, and they vote red. So now Ohio is no longer a battleground state because it's going red.
Yeah.
So they moved it to another state, Arizona.
That's right. Yeah. They figured out that we're winning Ohio, we're winning Florida. We got to go get the 3 mathematically statistical. It's Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And so give us a preview, Joe. Like, what do you think next session's going to look like a little bit more? What can the Freedom Caucus, what can we expect to be doing for the people of Arizona? I know, like Senator Justine Wadsack and your seatmate Alex Calden, gas prices are a huge issue in Maricopa County, absolutely massive.
Well, we had that press conference the other day for the Freedom Caucus, pushing gas prices down, trying to find alternate solutions to our gasoline. A lot of people don't know we have one blend of gas that no other county in the country uses. Yet we're just as hot as New Mexico, California, Southern California, Nevada, Texas. We could use different gasoline and it would be cheaper. So that was a good press conference. As far as what I think we're going to see this next session, I think we're going to get the budget out pretty quickly and have a budget battle early on. Now, for most people that don't know this, the budget was always last.
Right.
Prior to you getting down there, Austin, it was always the last thing to do. It dragged out. We'd be down in the Capitol 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, starting at 9 a.m., go all day, all night for 3-4 days straight to try to finish this budget. And it's just the wrong way to do it, right? I like that we're doing it early. We're going to do it early again this year. We're going to battle the Democrats and Katie Hobbs on what goes in the budget. I thought we did a good job last year.
Yeah.
The Freedom Caucus held strong. We did the tax rebate. First time ever that taxpayers here in Arizona got a rebate.
Yeah.
We're going to try to preserve that for this year. We're going to continue to push for the border security, transportation, really, fund the priorities. Things that are constitutional in our policies, things that are a priority, things that are good policy.
Right.
We really got to get away from overspending, and I think this year alone, we're going to reduce some overbloated government here in Arizona. We're going to reduce the massive spending that we've been doing.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's time we do that this year.
I think one of the most important things for at least all of our listeners, because we got people across the country that listen to this podcast, what is your one piece of advice for these conservatives? Like, what do they need to be doing and preparing going into 2024? Because we always talk about this is the most important election cycle in our history. I really honestly feel like this is like the last one. Like, this is the last dance, the last rodeo right here to save the country.
Yeah, I agree on the national level, even the state level, because the states are the more powerful, and we need to win these states like Arizona. Stay involved. I mean, honestly, I think the reality here is this is no longer, I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about, this in my family. We need to be out at the front line and talking to our friends, talking to our neighbors, explaining what's going on in this country. If you watch national media on your local channels that everyone watches in the evenings, they're not telling you what's going on. If you find the conservative channels, you'll see what's happening, but most people don't find those.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of you have to stay engaged. If you're young, get involved with the Young Republicans. Every state has it. Get involved with your local districts, your LDs. Most people don't know anything about the legislative districts. And stay engaged. Find people to vote. Make sure ballots are being turned in. Find your neighbors. Make sure they're voting, your friends, your family. And have that hard discussion. If they're going to vote Democrat, explain to them the ideology. This is what most people often don't talk about. The ideology of how you want to live. It's not the name on the ballot. It's the letter next to them. So if you're friends with Democrats and you think they're good people, the ideology of the Democrat Party is nothing that person is telling you, because they're going to do what they're told. They may be a good person, but as you and I know, as soon as you get down into the legislative session, they vote how they're told, and it happens in DC too.
Yep.
They do not change how they're told. And that ideology, the way they're being told, is destroying our country, destroying our states, destroying Christianity, and this is where you need to vote the ideology. What aligns with you? Freedom, liberty, First Amendment, Second Amendment, things of that nature. Do you want to have choice in America?
Right.
Because this gets deep. The liberty and freedom, like you just mentioned, could be gone. Without freedom, there's no liberty.
Yeah.
Without liberty, there's no freedom. And freedom, free from tyranny, free from dictatorship. Liberty, the choices you can make, how you live, that's your liberty. And we need to preserve that. And I think a lot more people need to engage into that discussion and start doing what they can. And if they can't donate, right? Everybody can donate. They can volunteer. They can make phone calls. They can knock doors. They can find volunteers. They can run for office.
Yeah.
They can run for a city. Local city council, we need that. School boards. We need school boards. We also need state legislators in the House and Senate. Find your legislative district and get involved.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Where can people find you, Joe?
You can find me at josephchaplick.com. That's my website, just my name, josephchaplick.com. Everything's right there, my phone number, mailing address, email, anything. So that's my website.
You heard it from here, Representative Joe Chaplick, Arizona House of Representatives.
Welcome to Swing State Update. I say all the time, Arizona deserves its own news network.
The way Arizona goes, the way the country goes.
Are you tired of being lied to by everybody in the media? Hard to find out what's going on social media in these key target states? That's why you've got to join us at Swing State Update.
Every Friday, you need to be here. If you want to be equipped to win back this country in Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, you got to tune in. You got to listen to Tyler. You got to listen to me, because if you don't, you're going to let the left win even more.
If you don't get this here, you're not going to hear it anywhere else.